Hey. Where's your boy Bart? Tapusa's the best. I'm a big Tapusa fan.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They want to let the world
Hagazoid.
decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house.
Excuse me.
The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed.
Ain't got no legs.
We were raised to lose the race.
Did you hear from Bort that I lost my legs? Shit, I think I forgot to not start and then restart. Damn it.
But I can tell you this.
So Facebook was already started. I fucked that up. What are you guys doing? You're supposed to be helping me out here. Wait. I don't feel like you're helping me at all. I feel like you're a hindrance, maybe. Scott and the wash machine accident. That's right. Terrible wash machine accident. Combat wash machine, honestly. Give me just a second. I'm liking and sharing the posts. All right, I think we're good. Maybe.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick.
Nobody
like
knows who Linda Binda is.
You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Binda land. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Dude, I just found a $2 million. You guys want to look what a $2 million home looks like in backwoods fucking Tennessee? This is probably, let's see, where did it say it was at? This is over near the airport, but still, it's not in Johnson City. It's not in Bristol. It's not in Kingsport. It's in a place called Bluntville. And look at this, a $2 million home. I know people are going to be like, if this is near me, it'd be $1 billion or whatever. But we don't have many $2 million homes, okay? It says, it gives all these things. It says, nestled behind a private gated entrance and situated on 2.88 serene acres in the heart of the Tri-Cities, this exceptional estate is tucked away in the prestigious Fairway Estates community beside the Tri-City Golf Course. The main residence offers 8,800 square feet of luxurious living space, including 5 bedrooms, 5 full baths, and 2 half baths. A beautifully appointed pool guest house adds 3 more bedrooms and 1 full bath, and brings the total finished square footage to over 10,100 square feet. Crafted with the highest attention to detail, this home features stunning ash hardwood floors harvested from the property, detailed trim work, and soaring ceilings. The grand foyer leads to a light-filled living room with a dramatic fireplace and a wall of windows overlooking the resort-style pool area. The gourmet kitchen boasts a walk-in pantry, butler's pantry, rice dungeon, and abundant cabinetry, with a cozy keeping room offering additional space to gather. The main level primary suite features 2 walk-in closets and a spa-like bath with whirlpool tub and a tile shower.
303RD_caged_rooster just subscribed.
That's right. Cage Rooster with a subscription. Thank you very much for the subscription. I appreciate it. A private office with custom built-ins connects to the suite via pocket doors. Upstairs, you'll find 3 bedrooms with ensuite, baths, 2 bonus rooms, and a generous storage. The finished lower level is ideal for a media or fitness area, complete with tile flooring and a full bath. An elevator makes access for all ages convenient. It's got an elevator in this home. The backyard oasis includes a custom pool, a covered patio, outdoor kitchen, guest house, perfect for hosting, with 5 garage bays and another 2,300 square feet of unfinished space. There's room for every hobby and or vehicle. Enjoy total privacy and a park-like setting, including a small pond and visits from local wildlife. Just minutes from Bristol, Johnson City and Kingsport. Buyers agents to verify all information. You guys want to help me buy this? Oh, from Beef Supreme. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Damn, that's a nice pool. I live in bumfuck, guys. Like I live in bumfuck, dude. Like there are very few people that could afford this. I don't know why the fuck they're marketing on. None of them are on Facebook. I guarantee that. None of them are on Facebook. I don't know why they're marketing on Facebook. But it's a nice place, I guess. Not as nice as Kid Rock's childhood home, but still. Damn, that office looks fucking old school, dude. Dropping a prime sub for our brothers. Groshala. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Spiral staircase. Kind of weird looking. Damn, that's the estate. It looks larger than the other houses around it, but I'm sure they're probably $1.5 million homes. I don't know who they're marketing this to be honest with you. I'm very fortunate that... Is that Greg Biffle's house? No, he doesn't live near me. He lives in North Carolina. I'm very fortunate that the place we live in has a super low cost of living. Like a $200,000 house in a lot of y'all's places would be like a fucking $500,000 house. Like it's mostly because there aren't jobs here. If there were high paying jobs here, everything would be more inflated. But it's call my town the big town of letdown because there isn't shit here. We used to have the railroad. It shut down. We used to have a bunch of factories. They shut down. We don't have shit. There are no fucking jobs here. Shitty factory jobs that fucking start out like $10 an hour on night shift, fucking trimming plastic parts, but no good paying jobs. You know what I mean? Kind of curious who lived here before. Anyways, I just happened to stumble across that.
So those of you that still...
Let's get into some other things. You remember this chud? So, this is arch nemesis to, Ryan Upchurch. This is Adam Calhoun. He has a brand. He does music. He sells shirts and fucking weird things. But his whole thing is like, he did a song with Tom McDonald. His whole thing is being fucking super American, Trump cocksucker, blah, blah, blah. Even he's like done with Trump. At least the first part of this video I heard sounded like he's like, fuck it. So let's see.
Followers over this video, good. Watch this clip and I'll be right back.
I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. There was a conspiracy against me, literally, by
Beef Supreme
people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say people
like
feel they have about
healthcare,
justice, Mr. President?
something that people care about.
Oh, we care. I'm a conservative and I voted for you and I care about this more than anything. There are very powerful men in this country doing terrible things to children, walking around like it's all good. Why hasn't anyone been arrested? I don't care what's going on in any other country because I live here in the USA. And I could be wrong, but it's...
And then we have that clip from Pam Bondi who's like, and we're moving on now. And we're moving on now. We won't be engaging with that anymore. What the fuck?
Seems like our whole country is ran by rich pedophiles who do whatever they want and have no consequences. I voted for you to bring the
I'm sorry, not Pam Bondi. The press secretary was like, and we're moving on from that.
You're the president. Do your job. You have all the power. These people should be put to death.
I got you.
Or at the very least, put in prison. And you're not just a president. You're a father. And I'm a father. And our job, above everything else, is to protect our children. Do your fucking job. If I lose followers over this video, good.
I don't care if they believe that there's an elite Democrat pedophile ring. If this is what it takes to break their Trump brain syndrome or whatever the fuck it is, then have at it. Right? Go after it. Get it. We're going to be covering a lot of Epstein stuff, just so you know. Let's start with this. I think this was kind of like a breakdown, but we've got more intentional clips than this one.
Support this administration. Are you proud of this?
In an interview last week, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche
Can't go off script.
said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true. Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones...
Isn't it crazy they come out and say that, you know, the Department of Justice has spoke to all the victims who want to speak to them, and none of these victims have spoken to the Department of Justice?
actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony.
Barbecue, I like that.
None. How many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses to talk to.
As those survivors stood up and raised their hand or didn't raise their hand based...
They even asked her... Hold on, I got that clip too. Somewhere. They asked her to... Is that it? They asked her to apologize to the victim. She refused.
Questions...
She started talking about the stock market or some shit.
All that you need to know about whether or not this administration and this DOJ gives a shit about you. Imagine for a second those survivors were replaced with your daughters.
That's right, beef.
Your wives, your mothers, your aunts, your grandmothers, whoever. Imagine they were replaced with somebody that you love and care about. Now think about how that would make you feel to know that the DOJ does not give a shit about them.
Oh shit, that was my bad. Hold on.
To those of you that still support this administration,
how sensitive it is.
This is a shit about you. Imagine for a second those survivors were replaced with your daughters, your wives, your mothers, your aunts, your grandmothers, whoever. Imagine they were replaced with somebody that you love and care about. Now think about how that would make you feel to know that the DOJ does not give a shit about them. Apply that same standard to those survivors that are sitting there. If you think about that and you think that this administration or this DOJ has the American people's interest best in mind and you still support this, then you are too far gone. What the hell are you doing?
I know.
Let's knock out all these Pam Bondi clips right quick.
Sorry to scare you like that, but
not that one.
Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the name.
So she's asking, will you apologize to these victims? You released their names. You released their information. There's only one name redacted. In some cases, you released images of them, CSAM material. Would you apologize for what you've done to these victims in this release? And she's like, why didn't you ask Merrick Garland that? Merrick Garland didn't release these files, bro.
The emails and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
And they've all, to be fair, they've all volunteered to meet with them.
Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with...
Will you apologize for releasing their names, their emails, their phone numbers, their images in some cases, their testimony with their names, unredacted?
The absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information.
Congresswoman, you sat before... Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney,
did Merrick Garland release CSAM and all their information and shit? If he did, he should apologize too, but your DOJ released this.
General Bondi,
no, can I finish my answer?
No, this is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump cuts her loose.
Who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done. Mr. Chairman,
why?
I have asked...
Didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is.
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady is reclaiming
I'm not going to
time.
get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just.
Chairman, I'll direct it to.
They do. So she has a whole staff that does op-ed research on everybody she could potentially be speaking with, and all the little gotchas like, you voted against this, and this immigrant's from your state, and this is blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But she can't do the basic tasks of being the attorney general.
But a massive
No, I'm answering a question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is interrupted.
I'm not going to get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time.
doing theatrics.
Let me have my.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time.
You got into
No one's asking if Merrick Garland did not release these. You did.
office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone
Remember when all the files were on her desk?
with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up. And I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
apologize
now recognizes the
for what you have done. Your Department of Justice.
We got more. How many of the Epstein co-conspirators have you indicted?
Conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
Here we go. Get out the burn book.
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
I feel like they instruct anybody going to Congress. They just tell them to be openly hostile. Don't answer the questions. Be openly hostile. Don't act like a human. Act like a fucking Twitter bot.
Theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it. How
Chairman
many have you
Jordan, I'm
indicted?
not going to get in the gutter with these people,
How many
but
have
I'm
you-
going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
the time belongs.
I think it's very
Reclaiming
interesting.
my time.
I think it's very
Reclaiming my
interesting.
time.
You can
When
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they
Reclaiming my
indicted,
time, Mr.
the
Chairman.
president said they
Close the
indicted him
clock.
twice.
Mr. Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock and
did.
stop the
He
clock and
indicted-
restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
The time
Reclaiming my
belongs
time
to the
and
gentleman
roll
from
back
New
the clock,
York.
please.
We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you
Reclaiming
ask a
my-
question, the
The
witness
question
gets to
was-
answer. You may not like the answer, but she
Right.
gets.
I'm going to be honest with you. Everybody's saying hateable. She's a cunt, whatever. Like, I don't typically put hands on women. I would punch this bitch right in the fucking mouth in a video game.
to
The
answer.
question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like
What?
the answer,
Reclaiming
Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest.
Reclaiming-
So he asked a
Reclaiming my-
4-minute.
Right. Stay calm and be all you have to do is give the standard political non-answer. I'm not sure how that happened, but we'll definitely be looking into it. We will investigate it to the fullest extent of how these got leaked, even though they're supposed to be redacted. I would apologize to anybody who inadvertently appeared in the Epstein files, including these victims here today. I don't know how that happened, but that's all you have to do. And you get a fucking A+, and everybody golf claps. But to be openly hostile about it makes me think that you're hiding more.
Question.
Restore 45
And
seconds,
I am
Mr. Nadler,
going
please,
to
Mr. Chairman.
answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch.
Listen.
Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be.
You washed up loser lawyer. You're not even a lawyer. Like, what? You don't tell me anything, you washed up loser lawyer. You're not even a lawyer. It's like a fucking child.
Let her filibuster all
An unruly teen.
but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because
He's not saying like he commanded her to do something, right? He was like, please do not just use this time to filibuster and go back. We have questions. We just want answers. They're not gotchas. They're not traps. They're not, you said this 2 weeks ago. We just want answers.
saw what you did in the Senate.
A lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go.
All right.
My time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0. You have been the Attorney General for a whole year, and your deal.
Hegseth is extremely bad about this too. Like, well, did you release the names of this during this signal chat? And he's like, $300 billion. That's the amount of money that went to illegals in your state. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're talking about the military, bro.
DOJ fired the lead prosecutor of this case, sat on evidence this entire time, and claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. It took an act of Congress for you to finally release part of
They have to know midterms are staring down the barrel, too. I'm beginning to believe this demon woman was Epstein's pilot at this point. Something. Stewardess.
Epstein files, and when you did, you included personal information about the victims.
Yeah, Cash Patel. They're all bad. To be true.
Gentlemen,
to be honest with you.
Brought to justice, but enormous resources.
Time of the gentleman has expired, and obviously
clear that under your leadership, the Department of Justice
there was
no longer works.
Question in there.
It works for Donald Trump. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators?
All right, that's another one. We're going on to another. I think that's not it. We'll watch that in a second.
Cash Patel under oath said
this was funny. This guy's always funny. Moskowitz. He basically asked her, like, what's the best insult you got in your book about me? And I'm going to score it like the Olympics in honor of the Olympics going on.
Cash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay.
Trump's name appears more in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the Bible.
By the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see, flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did.
So she's got to go to a religious base. You can't question me when you're mocking the Bible. He said he had a Trump branded Bible. Move over, King James.
You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book. Which is the best one? What you got?
has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
There was even an image leaked. I think somebody shared it in our Discord, didn't they? There was an image leaked that not only does she travel with her little burn book thing, but she has everybody that went to the DOJ to search through the Epstein list. She has what they searched for and what they looked up. She has a piece of paper on them that shows what they searched for and what they looked up. It says, shock photo, Pam Bondi's notes reveal that DOJ spied on lawmakers by tracking their searches through the redacted Epstein files and compiling them into a sheet for Pam Bondi. And this is on, it says every document, and then it says new Brazilian just arrived, sexy and cute, 19 years old. Thank you for the fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty. Next file says, thank you for the fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty. Next file says, from Kira Diktar to Jeffrey E. I found at least 3 very good young girls, but we was so tired. I will cover up this week. Meet this one, not the beauty queen, but we both likes her a lot. Guess there's a language barrier there. Another file, it's Epstein victim list, all redacted. Another file that says, I love the torture video. From Salyam to Epstein. Next file says child exploitation and human trafficking task force, PowerPoint on the Epstein trafficking. And then that includes the image, the PowerPoint image on there. And Pam Bondi's like holding it up, reading the back of this piece of paper. So they wanted to know everything they looked up, just like she has the fucking opposition research, right? To attack them with it. It's fucking insane. We'll watch that one in a second.
I still can't believe somebody.
Oh, here you go. Palate cleanser.
I still can't believe somebody shot Charlie Kirk without hitting him in the gums. How? You ever see his gums? He was so much gums, you guys. If I'm estimating, I'd say his body was like 99.4% gums. And a bullet went in there, hitting 0 gums. And ever since, whenever a cowboy throws up a deck of cards and shoots out the ace, I've been unimpressed. The bar for marksmanship is raised at this point, specifically by some kid who pulled off the sniper equivalent of a no-wipe deuce.
A no-wipe deuce.
The only harder shot that hit on Charlie Kirk would have been between the eyes, because his face was... You ever see his eyes? Okay, look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. I would describe my eyes as being a house apart. Charlie's eyes shared a fence. They were familiar. They borrowed each other's rakes without asking. He looked like a split screen in a 1970s low-budget film. It looked like time and space were caving in on itself right at the bridge of his nose. It looked like he was a hard sneeze away from being a cyclops. Sometimes people don't like this joke. And I assume it's because they've never been on the internet before. Because the internet will talk shit when a good person dies. And that's not what happened.
True.
And I want to be clear, I'm not glad he's dead, by the way. I'm not glad that a man was killed in front of his children. I'm not happy about acts of violence visited upon minorities and supposed retaliation for this, all right? My life is not better because Charlie Kirk is dead. You're thinking of Erica Kirk when you think of that.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
Way to show up, finally. Yeah, Erica Kirk, or to some degree, J.D. Vance. That's who benefits. All right, second side note. If getting shot in the neck and killed is called getting kirked, then I think getting shot in the neck and killed, then less than 2 months later, having your widow groped in public by the Vice President of the United States of America is getting Kirk-olded. Do you agree?
Kirk-olded.
Yeah, I'm not glad that he's dead. But he is. And there are some legitimately funny things about this death. And it's not my job to ignore that. My job is, in fact, the opposite of that. Yeah, it's not on me to not say these things. If he doesn't want to get made fun of, he needs to not die funny.
Damn.
That's not what happened. For example, if you say into a microphone that a few gun deaths a year are worth having the Second Amendment, then you become one of those gun deaths. That's objectively
That's
hilarious.
a little bit, that is irony, I think.
That's irony in its purest form, and it's not my fault when I say it out loud, all right? Don't Kirk the messenger just because you don't like I still can't believe somebody shot.
Enough of a palate cleanser. Back to Pam Bondi.
Testimony about the Epstein files just turned into one of the most chaotic congressional hearings you'll ever see. She called a congresswoman who lost her family in the Holocaust anti-Semitic. At times, she threw childish fits, calling someone a loser.
Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
When asked why alleged Epstein clients weren't being indicted, she then went on a rant about how good the stock market is.
We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
When asked why her DOJ didn't release the files as required by law,
You're there to testify about Epstein. So what does the Dow Jones have to do with anything?
her answer was literally, what about Merrick Garland? With then Thomas Massey pointing out that she's the one in charge now, and her response is she called him a hypocrite over an unrelated deepfake porn bill vote. Also, when asked about Ghislaine Maxwell, she deflected to a completely different crime.
You know,
she said, you're a hypocrite because you were one of the only people to vote against the deepfake porn bill.
instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison.
Ghislaine? In her super swank prison with her therapy dog? Ghislaine Maxwell.
Maxwell, she deflected to a completely different crime.
You know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a
questions.
subway.
And here's the thing. She was there to testify about the Epstein files. And instead, you got deflections, whataboutism, and personal attacks that were really just for Donald Trump to enjoy. And so,
Also a big fan of red flag gun laws.
if you were hoping for answers or accountability from the Trump administration, you really didn't get it.
You're not getting it here. That's for damn sure. Let's go. I got more. Let's go here. No, that is something else. Let's go. Sorry. Let's go here.
Done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
Actually, hold on. I got a longer clip of that. Actually, this one's longer.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
All right, so a pretty simple question. Underage girls at the party that they went to together.
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great
Somebody from the crowd actually yelled, "Answer the question," by the way.
things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time.
be
I got
released.
your answer.
He's the one that asked that the files be released. Is that how it happened? I mean, he campaigned on it, but then once he became president, was he the one that asked to release the files?
You said there's no
President
evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman,
that
please stop
he
reclaiming my time. Stop
signed
the clock.
legislation. This is
Time.
this
I'd like
is
to reclaim my
ridiculous.
time.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just...
Now, she said there's no, zero. She didn't say credible. She didn't say solid. She didn't say, thoroughly investigated. She said there's no evidence that Trump ever committed a crime.
Lied under oath. There is ample...
And he says, I think you lied under oath.
...from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just...
Just because this is a claim that came through a tip line doesn't mean it's not evidence. That's evidence, right? It might not be credible. It might be thoroughly investigated and debunked, but it's still evidence. You can't say there's no evidence.
...just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
Former Prince Andrew.
Damn.
Donald Trump attended various...
We got this one. This is Thomas Massey, I believe.
A list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you That was in the title, the victims, survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files. But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is...
Her defense to the Les Wexner thing is that his name appears in the files thousands of times. They do. That's true. But I think it makes it worse that the one fucking time that we're sure you redacted it is when he was named as a co-conspirator in child sex trafficking. Right? Imagine Trump's name appears thousands of times in the Epstein files. And I agree, you didn't redact those times that it appeared. But what if the one time that you redacted it that we know of was saying, oh, this is Donald Trump and I like to fuck kids? You know what I mean? Like, that's wild. It's wild that that's the redaction you picked out of all the redactions.
The third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on.
This is the one that's completely fucking, completely blacked out from top to bottom. Pretty fucking insane. An FD 302 is the government interview, witness interview, testimony, whatever. When they want to take an interview and save it, basically.
Onto and over redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see.
I will agree that she could have said, which they got to be on the same team. She could have said that the FBI kind of fucked us. So the FBI should have sent over all the documents completely unredacted. And then our job should have been to go through and redact them. The FBI sent pre-redacted documents that the DOJ doesn't even know what the unredacted version of it is. So they just forwarded them on with the redactions in place.
Because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this mass?
This is a pretty straightforward question. Are you able to track who made the decision to release this? She's going to say no, but are you able to name, to finger point? You don't have to say their name now, but could you figure out who made this decision to not redact this and to redact that?
Failure and release the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner.
You were 3 months late on the release. Do you think it's cool that you got busted and you fixed it?
Name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This isn't how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So
yes.
I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can.
I think Epstein had something to do with Abercrombie and Fitch marketing or something. There's some emails in here that says, I was wondering if there's anything in your power you could do to help me. I've got an Abercrombie & Fitch campaign with Bruce Weber on the 16th. So I don't know if he was like behind the scenes or something. I don't know what that was. Sometimes he's emailing himself about it. But I haven't got a visa to come to New York. I don't have time to open a working visa, but I probably could get a tourist visa for this one time. I've called the embassy today in the nearest appointment. So he's trying to he says he has a campaign with Abercrombie & Fitch, and he needs a visa expedited, basically. Try the embassy in Paris first. It usually takes 2 days.
Move to Chairman, it's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And
the worst redaction you could have possibly made, short of like him with his dick in a clearly a child's, right? Yeah, we get you didn't redact his name when it was like, oh, you going to do my taxes again this year, Jeffrey? But you did redact it when it said, known co-conspirators. This guy.
Invited you in.
Not only his name, but his name and his picture.
Has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get
want
on
you to watch
these
the
matters.
video.
Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI.
I just fell hard. Are you all right? Need a fucking ambulance or something? You all right?
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't,
bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the way
This
you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at
Yes.
what point, at what
Who made the decision of what gets redacted? Because we got 5,000 fucking redactions or whatever, and you didn't get the victims' names because that was the only thing you were supposed to be allowed to redact.
point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
I
hope you're all right, man. For real.
Answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about.
So she went to her book. She went right to her book. And how can I slander, Massey? Oh, he voted against an AI porn ban or deepfake porn ban.
It's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
That's her answer with why did the FBI decide, if they did, and how did they decide that he was not worth prosecuting, basically? That he was no longer a co-conspirator. And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the AI porn ban.
The gentleman's time has expired.
You didn't answer the question.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering, the gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's questions, Republican, Democrat.
I have a unanimous consent request.
Make sure you're all right. You might have fucking adrenaline and shit and be hurting later.
Was recognized for a UC.
All right. This is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted.
Those are all witness statement forms.
Even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from A.G. Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you, because they're still redacting files that you...
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are. I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection.
A list of names not to release.
Bitch
What
is
did
insane,
the DOJ
dude.
do with this email?
All right, go back to who is this news girl? I think she's pretty non-biased. Let's see what her coverage of the Pam Bondi hearing was.
Pam Bondi just dropped some big information during this very contentious hearing in front of the House.
So I don't agree with Thomas Massie on everything. I appreciate him being an actual fucking conservative. And he's not afraid to call it out and be like, hey, guys, we're supposed to be the conservative side. Why is this happening? And we're just all pretending like, you know, we got to follow Trump.
Committee, and
even when Trump pushed back, because you'll see other people do it. Then they'll get uninvited from the picnic or something. Then suddenly they lay off.
The yelling going on. You need to put that aside. It's theater. It's noise. Now, there are actually two pieces of news that just came out.
Oh, shit. My birthday's in a couple days.
Number one,
a few days.
Has to do with whether anyone else is going to be charged or investigated when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. And the other has to do with the DOJ's investigation into those other people. So let's start with Pam Bondi dropping this big nugget of information, and no one seems to be paying attention to it. Listen.
I want to know, will anyone besides her or Epstein, which I congratulate President Trump's previous administration and this Department of Justice for continuing all of that, but that they were indicted, but will anyone else be indicted and prosecuted under this, given the information that's in front of us?
We have pending investigations
You're being told to hate Thomas Massie? Is that what you're saying?
in our office.
Who can trust this? Remember when she had the files on her desk? And it was just tons of videos of kids being raped, and they'd be out any day now?
Time the gentleman has expired.
Wait, what? For the last year, we have heard from the FBI director that there are no other co-conspirators who could possibly be prosecuted because the FBI didn't have any evidence to follow up on.
Here's a question. Give me one fucking good reason, chat. One valid, articulable reason that they wouldn't interview the witnesses that are trying to testify. Even if they're interviewing them again. Trump labels anybody that has an R by their name but doesn't agree with him a rhino. And then everybody else is lunatic leftists who want trans for everybody. I feel like the further they go into this dystopian MAGA land, I don't even want to call it like far right, because it does have far right stuff in it, but it's also just got crazy shit in it, right? Weird, over the top authoritarian shit, and I don't know. But the further they go that way, the more it pushes me left, and I don't really like it. I would love to be in the middle.
And just a few weeks ago, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is Pam Bondi's number 2, said this was all over. There was nothing left to do, and no more prosecutions were going to come. So now all of a sudden, there are pending investigations? Of who? For what? And what happened to no one else is going to be prosecuted because there wasn't enough evidence? Now all of a sudden there's evidence? There are a lot of questions in there. But what we do know is evidence didn't come from at least some of the Epstein survivors who were actually in the room sitting right behind Pam Bondi. And this was a powerful moment.
Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of...
Well, so the person running against Massie should not win. But there's going to be a hell of a lot of support behind him. Even if that's fake, astroturfed on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. When it gets close to election time, there's going to be people dumping everything against them. Money and fucking millions of dollars. And
hands. How many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice?
These mass deportations are going to help out.
All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them.
Oh, bird hands where they're like, blah, 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 and they keep pinching and talking. Yeah, I'm saying. Sometimes to themselves, sometimes to you.
Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses to talk to.
Expired.
Okay, there are a handful of pretty prominent Epstein survivors who just stood up and said they have not even met with the Department of Justice or provided any evidence of what happened to them.
There is no legitimate or legal reason to not talk to all these people that claim to be, even if every one of them's fake, liar, grifter, they should still be interviewed by the FBI.
Even though they tried. In fact, they just said they have been ignored. So if the DOJ hasn't talked to the victims, what exactly are they investigating? How could they investigate? How could this even be? Pam Bondi never answered that. Pam Bondi just dropped some big information during this.
Fucking insane. There also is a Newsgirl update on this. Have you guys seen so there's a new version of the SAVE Act they're trying to pass before midterms. And it's called the Save America Act. We talked about, we're moving on from the Bondi Epstein stuff. This one's called the Save America Act, and it's a brand new one.
To pay attention to everything that's going on right now, but I think you should know the Republicans are trying to dramatically change the way you vote, and they're going to try and do it by passing a controversial bill this week. So you may remember this bill's predecessor called the SAVE Act. Yeah, well, this new 2026 version is called the...
I don't want people that aren't eligible to vote voting either, but I think there should be a penalty for taking people that should be eligible to vote and preventing them in some way as well, right? Or getting rid of their vote, or whatever, right?
Save America Act, and it basically does the same thing with a few new tweaks. Now, before I tell you what this bill says, you have to understand that the Republicans who wrote this bill and the President of the United States who is backing this bill both fundamentally believe there is all kinds of election fraud going on nationwide. And they believe there are millions of people who are in this country illegally who are also voting in federal elections. The facts are, none of that is true. There is no widespread voter fraud in federal elections that has been proven in any state or in any federal court of law. And in fact, federal law already says non-citizens are not allowed to vote in federal elections. It's already a federal crime, punishable up to 5 years in federal prison. But regardless, the Republicans and the president are pushing this Save America Act hard. Voting rights experts say if it passes, this law would probably make it harder or even impossible for about 21 million Americans to vote, not because they're here illegally, but because they simply don't have access to the documentation this bill requires. The Save America Act requires proof of citizenship, not proof of identity. Proof of citizenship is a very important difference. That means your driver's license.
It is to directly do it, but like what's going to happen is people are going to show up at the polling place and they've got even if they have to show up with their birth certificate, they were recently married 3 months ago. Birth certificate doesn't match their last name. It's the day of. They don't have time to go get the driver's license plus this, plus a marriage certificate. They can't find this. They can't find that and not allowed to vote.
Won't be enough. And in lots of cases, your real ID won't be enough to register.
I think it's wrong, and you can see it in the Republicans. They always want less people voting, even if that means excluding some people who are eligible. Let's just make sure so that fucking
like
point of
ninja.
half of 1% of illegals don't vote and then get caught anyways. We need a rich centrist party that are opposite of the PDFs. We can have MILF Island and a love of wood chippering PDFs as our platform. Thank you very much for the donation. I agree.
To vote either. The law says you will either need a valid passport, a real ID that has proof of citizenship on it. Not all of them do. or...
So you need to check this if any of this stuff passes or if your state's doing this. They said real ID would be valid for this type of stuff. Not all states are verifying their real ID, okay, with your citizenship. So some states implemented real ID, and they do not use it as a valid, you have to check with your state. Does it actually prove that I'm a citizen? Other states, it does. Some states, it doesn't. There's no uniform standard, even though it's supposed to be a uniform standard to prove that you were a citizen. It doesn't work that way.
An original birth certificate, an original social security card, or a military ID, along with U.S. military record of service showing your place of birth is in the United States.
I can't grapple right now. There's so much stuff going on. I can't grapple right now. I like to think I'm in the middle. I'm kind of a gun nut, and I love guns and the Second Amendment. I carry every day. I do all that stuff. But I'm also scared when my kids go to school. Like, there's got to be a way to fix that.
States. If you don't have original copies of those things with your current legal name, then the bill says you can present a combination of documents to include your driver's license plus your birth certificate that shows you were born in the United States, or your driver's license plus a U.S. hospital record of birth, or your driver's license plus your naturalization certificate or certificate of citizenship issued by Homeland Security, or your driver's license and your American...
This will not pass with the current filibuster. Trump is campaigning Republicans, private and publicly, to get rid of the filibuster so they can pass this because they're really worried about midterms. Not illegals voting. They just, the less people that vote, the greater chance that Republicans win. It always happens. So the lower the turnout, the lower the valid votes, even when some illegals do vote, or it's almost always caught. It's almost always caught. Prosecuted, barred from voting, like it's insane, but whatever.
An Indian card issued by Homeland Security. But for example, newly married voters who have changed their last name would have to register to vote with one of those citizenship documents plus additional proof as to why their current name doesn't match their birth certificate. The bill says you will no longer be able to register to vote through the mail unless you also present that proof of citizenship in person to your local election authorities. And if your state allows same-day voter registration, you must bring that proof of citizenship with you when you vote. Then once you've proven your citizenship and you register to vote on election day, this bill requires you to present a photo ID like a state-issued driver's license, in order for you to cast a ballot.
Yes, it will hurt the GOP a lot if they get rid of the filibuster. And both sides have honored it, right? Like, hey, it's here, we're keeping it. Both sides have at some time, promoted, yeah, let's get rid of it, but their side always comes to reason. It's like, no.
Now, if you vote absentee, you would have to include a copy of your photo ID with your absentee ballot. And if you vote by mail, this bill would likely make that more difficult too. Even if you want a mail ballot, you of course would have to...
There's also something really, really some fuckery is going on behind... You guys are going to think I'm a conspiracy theorist. Some fuckery is going on behind the scenes of the post office. Okay? Listen. This is the third time the Trump admin has directly tried to steal my right to vote. Yeah, it's fucked up. Listen to my post office story, and if you think I'm a fucking nut job, that's fine. You can leave. I mentioned this was fucked when they did it, but a U.S. Postal Service, they blamed it on manpower and processing power, and they just don't have a postmark date is no longer a valid way to see when something was mailed. It used to be, you got that postmark, you were good, including paying bills or signing contracts or submitting documentation or voting. If it was postmarked by the day, that counted. They got rid of that. That's not valid anymore. That the postmark is not tied to the day you submitted it anymore. And they can't guarantee you that it'll be postmarked on the day that you submitted it. That's gone. Also, the administration quietly has been within post offices in certain states, and this comes from post office employees, looking at their manpower, their scheduling, and how quickly mail moves to their post offices. What causes delays? What types of delays? How long? Fucking with the schedule. messing with people's schedules, messing with the process and slowing stuff down. I have a feeling that either on this next midterm or the next general election, they're going to do some type of fuckery with the post office to where mail-in votes are, vast amounts of mail-in votes are just fucking thrown out because they were too late, they got delayed, there was nobody working that day, they didn't get postmarked in time, blah, blah, blah. It's going on right now. People from the post office are coming forward and being like, hey, federal government's showing up here, asking a lot of weird questions about how we process mail, how slow it takes, what our big slowdowns are, how that slowdown could be caused by what, by who, the postmark date, and they're talking about elections.
First, provide your proof of citizenship to be registered, and then
I'll try to find a video and show you in just a second.
Photo ID to request a mail ballot, and then
listen. So if you vote by mail, even if you're already registered, so the big thing. People say, oh, you have to show an ID to hunt and fish. You have to show an ID to buy tobacco. You have to show an ID to buy alcohol. Why can't? Because we did. We proved our citizenship when we registered. I proved my citizenship in all ways, shapes, and forms available when I registered to vote. So when I go to vote, I show my ID. They say, yes, you're registered. I've already jumped through those hoops. So if I request a mail-in ballot, I'm already registered. I already proved who I was. Send me the fucking ballot. I'll send it back. Now they're saying, registered or not, if you want a fucking mail-in ballot, because you work out of town or work nights or can't get here, can't get there, if you want a mail-in ballot, you have to go first and prove that you're a citizen every fucking time. Birth certificate, driver's license, social security card. Then you'll be eligible to request a mail-in ballot to be sent to your home.
when you return your mail ballot, you would have to include a copy of your photo ID with that mail ballot. The only exceptions for providing...
Well, that's what they're going to have to do. If they invalidate the postmark thing, it used to be if it's postmarked by this date, your vote counts. If they get rid of that and the postmark date is not tied to when you then all they can do is say, well, it has to be here by the time the election office closes or whatever.
The T ballot would be for those who are, for example, disabled or in the military. And when it comes to states that do not require voter registration, this bill would force those voters to also provide proof of citizenship before being eligible to cast a ballot. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned if this law passes, it would impact about 21 million Americans. And that's because about half...
I'm of the belief voting should be super easy. How many times have I personally, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure it's more than once. How many times have you personally had to prove to the government that you're a citizen? Think about all the paperwork you've ever been through and this and sign up for that or this, that. They know 90% of us are U.S. citizens. We ought to get a goddamn text on our phone that says, type in the name of the person you want to vote for and send it back in and boom, you voted. You know what I mean? And then anybody in this questionable gray area where they're like, I'm not sure if they're a citizen. Sure, maybe they have to do more, but it ought to be so fucking easy to vote. For U.S. citizens, especially born here, lived here your whole life, it ought to be the easiest fucking thing. I shouldn't have to go anywhere, ever, at all. I've had a literal U.S. government employee bend me over and count the rings on my butthole. I think I'm qualified, guys. I passed the fucking test. Okay? I think I got it. You can just ask me who I want to vote for. I shouldn't have to jump it through any more hoops.
Of Americans don't have a passport, and millions more don't have access to those original documents like a birth certificate or a social security card. And for married women who have changed their names, that's going to put an extra big burden on them to sort of dig up these original documents.
The only people that can still get a mail-in ballot under this new law, if it passes, it hasn't passed yet, I want to make that clear, that can get one without jumping through most of these hoops are active duty, obviously.
Plus their original marriage certificate. And election officials say all of that would disenfranchise a ton of voters.
An original marriage certificate is going to throw issues too, because basically every county and definitely every state has a different standard and process and blah, blah, blah. You go through to get your marriage certificate. They all look different. They all have different fucking calligraphy on them and handwriting and who's allowed to sign them and who isn't allowed. All that shit. He told me he was counting. I don't know. He had a flashlight, a little miner's helmet kind of deal. No, I fantasize about the guy at MEPS sometimes that looks at everybody's butthole. He must have the craziest dreams, for real. Imagine his Tinder profile. He goes out on a date and they're like, what do you do for work? He's like, you know, I've seen a bunch of assholes. So that's all I can say.
House Republicans and President Trump are pushing this bill hard. They're going to
birth certificates are crazy too.
Act through the House.
I thought all birth certificates were like mine until I saw my wife's. Like, maybe I'm just dumb, but every birth certificate I had seen had been somebody. My family has been in this area since before Tennessee was a fucking state. So every birth certificate I've ever seen my whole life is always my family's, and they're always Tennessee. And then Mariah fucking has her birth certificate from goddamn Michigan, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? What's this extra paper down here? And what's this? This isn't a fucking birth. And she's like, no, that's a birth certificate. I had to look it up. Somebody swindled her, sold her a fake birth certificate.
House this week, but then it has to go to the Senate, where it's going to need 60 votes. Democrats are already not on board. And
if you're going to watch me do a urinalysis, you might as well hold it for me.
Senate Republicans are
silly.
Not really on board with everything in this bill either. Some Republicans and even the president are putting a lot of pressure on the Senate to throw out the filibuster and get rid of that 60-vote requirement so this bill can just pass with only Republican votes. But as of today, Republican Senate Majority Leader John...
Mariah, my wife, begged me one time to hold it while I was peeing because she wanted to see if it felt different with liquid running through it. Is that just a me thing? Maybe.
Thune said, that's not going to happen. The filibuster is here to stay. So even if the Save America Act passes through the House, it is unclear if it's going to have the same fate as the SAVE Act did in the Senate, which was a slow death. I know it's hard to pay attention to everything.
All right, let me throw on Voidzilla while I look up some of my post office conspiracies.
A big joke. I am increasingly disgusted by the way this is all a big joke to liars like Howard Lutnick, who deceived the American public about the status of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
That guy was there. I wasn't going.
Now he testifies under oath that he actually went to the island of the creep and brought his kids.
We had lunch on the island.
Yeah, but that's the difference between someone like hawking a loogie on you and their mouth drooling. You know what I mean? Like if I just drool, that's going to be a different sensation than if I build up a big fucking loogie and I'm like, right in your face, right? There's a different texture to it.
True, for an hour, and we left with all of my children.
Nevertheless, every time Epstein is brought up, this guy can't stop chuckling. Here's Lutnick laughing again when Trump is addressing a question about Epstein.
To talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question.
Why the fuck's he laughing in the background, dude? He did testify that, yes, he did go to the island. Yes, he had lunch. But my kids, my wife, another family, his wife, and their kids were all there too. And we had one lunch on his island.
He thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard.
No one would think anything about... I mean, people might side-eye you, but this wouldn't be a fucking issue if you wouldn't have done that interview saying that he's the most disgusting person you've ever fucking met, and you and your wife promised each other that you'd never be around him again. And then 3 years later... you're like, hey, I'm in town on the boat. You want to have some fucking tea and crumpets or whatever? The fuck out of here.
Heard. And maybe it's because...
especially with that big ass fucking nose. Could you imagine fucking trying to share a line with this son of a bitch? God damn.
I don't know. I could ask you that question.
He thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. And maybe it's because they really think we are buying it. Maybe it's because they think, hey, we're just going to get away with this. We can just keep... the lies are so brazen, so audacious, so in your face that it is actually funny to them. And you know what?
Man gets a key bump. It's a fucking 8-ball. I goddamn snaz on that one.
I have to agree that the way the FBI and DOJ have been treating this is a joke, because we just talked to a congressman who passed the Epstein Transparency Act. As part of it, the DOJ was supposed to release all the Epstein files with no redactions except for survivors. That didn't happen. Several of the survivors' names were left unredacted, and they're still
like, at least they're telling us, according to them, There's still 3 million that they're not going to release. And what is their excuse for that? That they're duplicates? Bro, release the duplicates. We can decide if it's a fucking duplicate or not, right? It reminds me of that meme from The Office where she's like, corporate called. They said there's 10 differences in these 2 pictures. They need you to find them all. She walks out and she's like, it's the same picture.
Several of the perpetrators' names were left redacted.
Is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to release.
That's right.
What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email.
Like turning on a goddamn shop vac, dude.
In the document production.
Got to keep the razor blade away. You take that some bitch up there too.
Really, the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. The title of this one is Child Trafficking. Co-conspirators. Fully redacted.
But in response to criticism that they had over-redacted, they said, hey, we're so transparent, we're going to let you guys come and see the unredacted files to the congressman. The problem is, guess what happened when those congressmen showed up? The unredacted files.
Here's what. You'll never understand unless you live in like a small like fucking religious fucking Bible Belt piece of shit town. Tomorrow, I'm not claiming this. This is a hypothetical. Tomorrow, it could come out that our local sheriff was arresting 15-year-old girls, fucking them and letting them go. And there would be people that hopped on Facebook and would say, just pray for the man. This is the devil coming after him. It's fucking insane here, dude.
Redacted underneath the redaction. There were 2 layers of redactions. By the time the DOJ got them, they were already redacted. So what they're looking at.
But then they'll share a meme that says fucking Joe Biden went down to Cambodia and bought a fucking 2-year-old to come back just as an ornament for the tip of his dick. Like, it's just fucking crazy.
Is an unredacted, redacted copy of the Epstein files. This is at the same time that the FBI has a government project to build a next-generation redaction tool where they claim they need multi-layer redaction management. And you can see it here where a representative talks about getting to see the, quote, unredacted files. He says the search function didn't actually work. Half the stuff I was looking for was still redacted. We couldn't write on files we brought in. We shared 4 computers for 435 members of Congress. So what is this actually? This is transparency theater. This is not real.
And they weren't unredacted.
Actually a joke. Here's another joke. The FBI just concluded, again, that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a ring for powerful men. But when the public was asked about this just the other day, 94% believe that he was. So obviously there's a huge gap between what the FBI says they believe and what the public, who has now at this point seen most.
I don't know. I don't want to phrase. I don't know that it was just known that if you're into fucking kids, except for like whoever he's talking to with Woody Allen, it's like, hey, the pedophile convention. I don't know that everybody knew that Jeffrey Epstein fucked kids and that was the guy to go to if you wanted to fuck kids. But I do know if you had that proclivity, then he was definitely helping you with that while he fucked kids or underage children.
Most of the same files say they believe. If anything, the FBI, by definition, would have access to more evidence. And yet with the files that we already do have, 94% of the public say, yeah, Epstein obviously was trafficking, but the FBI, of course, isn't investigating new parties. They say there's no evidence for it.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were.
My Boy Scout leader taught me, gave me a badge for it and everything. He taught me this secret handshake called the salute to the one-eyed lizard. Turns out that's called a hand job. So I didn't catch on the first 30 or 40 times. But eventually I was like, hey, this is fucking weird.
I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to
got a merit badge, though.
Other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files.
In the case files.
Okay, even if you believe what he says, after the revelation that the FBI themselves thought there were 4 co-conspirators in the previous draft indictment, they later said they thought they had 10 co-conspirators. Now you're supposed to believe, nope, no women were trafficked to any of these people. Epstein was working.
Here's a question. The Yankin badge. The Jack Mehoff commemorative title. Here's a question. If I slept with someone and then like a year later, they are trans, does that make me like gay?
Alone. It might be surprising to learn then that the
They recently changed their name to Rachel, and now they're a woman. So I don't know if that nullifies the first encounter or not.
DOJ and FBI under Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, who ran on the idea of releasing these files, have not talked to people who say they were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein. This was brought out 2 different times. I want to watch both of them with you because it's astonishing to hear someone say, we have no credible evidence on other perpetrators, only to learn you never talked to the women who were allegedly
Name was Steven when we met.
trafficked.
At the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't.
Dude, let me tell you something. Here's something you'll never hear about. I'm pretty sure I'm a lesbian. Here's something you'll never hear about the cold, hard truth about the boot camp. First of all, your body goes into a state of shock. And if you don't shit in the first 3 weeks, you've got to go to a sick call, right? Sick call ranger. 3 weeks, can't shit. That's like the cutoff. They're like, hey, if you haven't shit in like a month, maybe, you got to go get some laxatives. But your body goes into a state of shock. Another thing, they often make you sit in very homoerotic ways. They'll make you sit on a bench straddling it with a guy in front of you and a guy behind you, and their slogan is nut to butts. Like you've got to, and then when the line moves, you don't stand up and take a step and sit back down. You like pelvic thrust up the line. Okay? Nut to butt, and then you scoot like you're humping the person in front of you to scoot up, and the person behind you humps you. All dudes. Okay? But that's not the crazy thing. Okay? Nobody in all of basic training for the first couple of months gets an erection. In fact, it's so bad that trainees start rumors that one of the shots they give you, because they just line you up and they give you all these shots, they don't tell you what they are, what they're doing with them or nothing, that one of the shots prevents erections while you're in training. Now that's fucking crazy. I guess it's still the shock thing that you don't have an erection because your mind's like on everything else and you're like new and you can't shit and blah, blah, blah. Your body goes into survival mode rather than trying to procreate, that type of lizard brain mentality or something. But it's so bad, so prevalent that we start talking about it like, hey, I can't even get a chub. I haven't since I've been here. Is everything okay? And in your mind, you convince yourself that they gave you a boner shot and you can't have a boner while you're in training. Fucking insane, dude.
I haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to
Is the
invite all
answer yes or no
investigative
to whether or not you met with these women who were abused and
Yes or no? Did you meet them?
Any insinuation by you or any people on your side that I am not manhunting child traffickers.
Did you meet with these victims?
Just look at the stats. And you talk about cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you talk about cover-ups.
I'm going to stop it there. It just devolved. He refuses to answer the question of, did you actually meet with these women? Luckily for us, some of those same people later showed up at another hearing, this time in a hearing with Pam Bondi.
survivors in the room. If you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand.
Yeah, it's honestly shocking to see. There's these people who are claiming to be victims of Epstein. The DOJ and FBI have consistently said, look, we want to take all available evidence. We just need the evidence.
And we have continuously and publicly asked for the public to come forward with more information. If there is, we'll look at it.
And then it's like, well, did you interview these people who say they have evidence? Well, no, actually, we didn't. This comes up again.
Now, with the survivors and victims who are here, please stand up one more time.
Oh, by the way, I found out today that the Q-tards think that the people that had to dress up as sugarcane for Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime performance, that's part of an ancient fucking Luciferian sacrifice ritual to worship Satan. It couldn't be because they can't damage the field, and it would be almost impossible to move that many props out there that quickly. So they have to dress people up like props so they can just fucking walk. No. Part of a ritual.
Just by show of hands, how many of you or your
I would have been a sugar cane. I would have TikToked every fucking minute of it. I'd been live streaming from behind the weeds.
loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you
are 10, 12 probably standing?
Have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those you
I mean, what can you even say to that? This is a DOJ. This is an FBI that claims to be interested in getting to the bottom of the Epstein.
She doesn't care. She actually smirks at it. Like it's, I don't know. It's disgusting the way she is.
Files, except when actually asked, they cover up, they redact, and they don't ask for victim testimony or evidence. I mean, how can you possibly...
By the way, thank you guys. I know the bot sends messages over there, and it looks like I just have bots on YouTube, but thank you guys for watching on YouTube. You're more than welcome to watch on Twitch. The reason Twitch is my main platform is sometimes, back in the day when I was a Trump supporter, and still sometimes today, I have enough to like bump up on the Discover page, right? At least for like politics or just chatting. And I feel like it's harder for me to be discovered on YouTube, but I need viewers on YouTube as well. So thank you guys for coming over. Jen for inviting everybody. Yeah, I don't want to feel like you guys are left out or anything. If I can watch on YouTube all you can.
Simply say you've reached a conclusion.
Hell, I make more money there anyways. I need to go purely to YouTube, but I'm afraid that I'll get found on Twitch by a group of people, and I don't really on YouTube.
As to an investigation when you literally haven't talked to the people who would be a victim of said investigation. Furthermore, how can Kash Patel say under oath, without perjuring himself, that there was no credible evidence that Epstein trafficked to anyone else, when internal emails to 710 director's call, it says approximately 4 to 5 victims accused other adult men of abusing them. There was not enough evidence to federally charge these individuals, so the cases were referred to local law enforcement.
Even there, even if he says, oh, well, it says right there's not enough evidence to federally charge them, you can't say there's zero evidence of this happening.
Again, there's a huge difference between there's no credible evidence.
There is. Scoot, you found me on YouTube? When, though? Recently? That's cool if you found me on YouTube. I feel like they don't suggest me enough to people.
No credible information. None.
And we couldn't pull charges. I mean, that's a totally different thing. And in that case, isn't the whole point to investigate that? Isn't the whole point to call more of the people saying they have evidence? Isn't that your job? How can the FBI, the DOJ, conclude definitively that Epstein wasn't trafficking to anyone?
Well, mine might be like, oh, sweet, Scoot. Thank you for following us all. I think it might be, my specific case where I don't have a huge viewership. There are tons of people who make a shit ton on Twitch. It's just not me. I definitely make more on views from YouTube. Twitch takes half of, all the subscriptions, but I could turn on members and get 70% of subscriptions. Or like when you donate super chats, I get 70%, they take 30, kind of deal.
When Jess Staley, during a UK court hearing in 2025, admitted to having with a member of Epstein's staff. He, of course, described it as consensual, but internally within the Epstein files, there's...
That's fine, too. Watch on Twitch.
Jess Staley. One of the files alleges that a victim was left with body marks after an interaction with the former Barclays boss. The disgusting Mr. Staley, if anyone ever calls me Tinkerbell again, I will lose my mind. Which I know sounds weird that Jess Staley would allegedly refer to a girl as some type of like Disney character or cartoon character, but this is consistent with email exchanges. Jess Staley says, that was fun to Jeffrey Epstein. Say hi to Snow White. What character would you like next? Epstein later asks, to which Staley replied, Beauty and the Beast. Epstein responded, well, one side is available. Now again, I'm not saying these emails would be enough to charge Jess Staley, but to investigate, almost certainly.
That's right.
Definitely unconscionable to say there's zero of Epstein trafficking to anyone.
There is no credible information. None.
How can that possibly be true when some of your files say 4 or 5 victims?
He could have said there's not enough evidence to like bring charges. But to say there's none. And at one point they even asked him, like, who, if anybody, did Epstein traffic these females to? And he says himself. That's it.
Accused other men. So it's just totally insane to me the way we are all treating this, where the people in power whose job it is to hold these people accountable, they want to laugh about it, they want to joke, they want you to smile about the whole thing. This actually came to a head when
that's right, grassroots.
About the survivors.
She's good at it.
It's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. You are the worst reporter. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think
At one time, I tried really hard to connect with Destiny to get him to cover Phil Godlewski, who's like the biggest fucking QAnon grifter of all time. but I couldn't get a hold of him.
Ever seen you smile? I've known you for...
I went on, you guys know Ethan Ralph, right? The Ralph retort, you can't abort the retort. I went on his to talk about Phil God Lucy.
Ever seen a smile?
Well, I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth.
It's honestly baffling. I mean, how are we supposed to act during the Epstein files when we hear about these horrific stories? Are we all supposed to be like Howard Lutnick, just guffawing, laughing it up? How are we supposed to treat this travesty of justice? And again, I want to restate for the millionth time, this is not political, no matter how much the DOJ and FBI try to argue that it is. The person we're about to watch question.
I know I've seen you around forever.
But anytime you say anything negative about the Epstein file handling, which was run on by this administration, they either bounce to, well, you must hate Trump, or the Democrats didn't do it last time, so we shouldn't be expected to do anything either. And you're about to see more of that.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of over 4,700, and we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Literally, we caught you guys redacting a co-conspirator's name. I mean, there's a lot more than that they redacted, but it's like, for them to say, oh, what? Oh, it was just one name. We put it up when you said so. When you caught us on our 4 computers we allowed you to use with redactions on top of redactions. And Pam Bondi's performance here was so bad that at one point she's being asked about, like...
What are the chances that the FBI no longer even knows what they redacted? Like, even if they wanted to, they couldn't unredact it, and that's why they sent it to the DOJ in that format. That basically they blacked it over, and there's no going back. It would just be him guessing. Yes, the gunt.
Are you bringing any more indictments? Are you investigating anyone? And she jumps back to some pretty bizarre talking points.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you can answer the question the way I asked it.
And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does the Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
No, I do want to know what.
Yes, you were called to testify about the Epstein files. What the fuck does the Dow Jones Industrial Index have to do with anything? Industrial Average? I can't remember.
To do with
yes, that was part of her directly from Trump notes.
Epstein victims. I truly don't understand that. So yeah, this whole thing was a complete disaster of a meltdown. They're treating it as an absolute joke, and they criticize you if you don't smile like Howard Lutnick when he's caught lying about the Epstein files. And while I can't personally muster that kind of energy, I do want to talk about some more of the revelations in the Epstein file. Like, the most noteworthy is that Trump called the Palm Beach Police Department immediately after Epstein was arrested, according to a police chief that was interviewed in 2019. He says back when he arrested Epstein the first time, Trump called him and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." Saying about Maxwell, she's evil, and to focus on her, according to the police chief, Trump was one of the first people to call. Julie K. Brown said that when Trump called the chief, it was after the Epstein story became public, when Epstein was arrested. This actually goes a long way to explain Speaker Mike Johnson's previous comments that Trump blew the whistle to the FBI to stop Epstein.
Who's an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down?
It's obvious that he probably just misunderstood that it was an FBI interview of a police chief, and that at the time, it was the Palm Beach Police Department handling that case. And I think that...
I don't even think that's where they get it from. I don't think that's where they get he was an FBI informant. They get it from one lawyer, one time, in a civil case, was trying to help an Epstein victim. And they got a list of famous people that Epstein hung out with. And he claims he called everybody on the list, and the only person that talked to him and gave him some answers for questions he had was Trump. That's what all the Q-tards mean when they say that Trump worked with the FBI to get Epstein taken down. That's what they're talking about. They saw a guy in the suit. They're like, he must be FBI. Trump testified, blah, blah, blah.
Even for the people who say, okay, that's just because they had a falling out over real estate or anything like that, I think it undoubtedly is a good look for Donald Trump, and clearly something they're going to hang on to as more of these files get released.
I've never been like, if comedy was easy, they'd let women do it and they'd be funny, right? I've never been one of those types to be like, but now I'm like, fuck it. Let's just put a woman in the White House. How much worse can it get? Legend will agree with me.
released. We also have something that kind of goes the other way. Remember the Wall Street Journal birthday book story, which Trump said was false? And
thanks for hanging out.
We have a B-Day book update sent in 2002 when the book was supposedly drafted, and we see LM for blank, George Mitchell, Donald Trump, Henry Jarecki, and Leon Blatt.
Mentioning the Dow Jones in a hearing on the Epstein files is like saying the Dow is so good, maybe you too will one day get an invite to the island. That's right. You've almost made enough to fuck kids without any repercussions.
Definitely undermines his case, defamation case, against the Wall Street Journal. I think another interesting component of this was realizing that Jeffrey Epstein was secretly buying motion-detected hidden cameras that record, and one of the people who said they were installing them said they were installing them into Kleenex boxes. There's another email from Jeffrey Epstein where he claims to need a button camera for the Sultan. Once again, highlighting that this case is also a bizarre case of power. Who did this guy work for? He talks about going to an SCIF, which might be an acronym for a sensitive compartmented...
We also have to realize that people lie sometimes, too. This says from Steve Bannon, on the coup, I'm deep in the middle of. What the fuck? Sorry, give me a second. Let's go to, what is the J, not J-mail, we want J, what's his phone? J message. And then we want the word coup. Sorry. Hasn't pointed out assassinations to overthrow governments, coup funding. Amon. Putin has been so kind so far, not to point that out. How the U.S. involves itself in other elections. Laugh out loud. The populist in Pakistan, really bad news. The cricket player, how could he be the worst Islamist? So that's not it. I don't think this was on there yet in the iMessage part. The media company has a lot of advantages, source privileges, etc. Coup, Pottinger, his whole family are rats. His brother Stan would have written it. Pottinger's family not good. They're rotten. David Bolas, partner and writer, would use a legal or family cutoff so they could answer, I didn't write it, without committing perjury. And you would have to have prepared a serious defense strategy, powerful legal advice, etc. Not puts too much emphasis, but they said they relied on the trusted intermediary. If you wouldn't have to do that, if you met the officials, it says the author, not the person, and testimony. The editor of the Times did not meet the author. I sent you an editor quote. Sorry, did not meet the official. Otherwise, they wouldn't need testimony from a trusted intermediary. Okay. I don't think this one's up there. Oh, I guess I can search the word skiff. No results found. I don't think this one's been uploaded to the J messages yet. Similar to a skiff, you choose the time. That's with Steve Bannon twice. What's this say? We'll come back to you. I suggest, Steve Bannon says, I suggest my house 9 East 71. Similar to a skiff, you choose a time. Epstein. Anytime Monday, let's connect. Bannon. And if easy, you are welcome to stay at my house as long as no press. Florida for the weekend, New York Monday through Thursday. You are welcome to either, both anytime. Epstein. When are you in Ruin? Are you in New York? Epstein. I'm sorry. Yeah, Epstein. Attaboy. Bannon. Tough. Why this has nothing to do. Why this has nothing. Why this is nothing, brother. Epstein. Stay mentally tough. I'll be back to New York all next week if you are around. Oh, I might have read them backwards. So let me read them again. Epstein. I thought they were in the opposite order. Yeah, I did read them backwards. I'm an idiot. Epstein says, stay mentally tough. I'll be back in New York all next week if you're around. Bannon. Tough. Why? This is nothing, brother. This is on January 5th of 2018. When was Bannon arrested? January 5th of 2018. Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House by Michael Wolff is published. North Korea accepts South Korea invitation to high-level talks. Sorry. All right, let me go back to this. Finish reading now. He says, why? He says, tough. Why? This is nothing, brother. Jeffrey, attaboy. Bannon, when are you in New York? Epstein, Florida for the weekend. New York Monday through Thursday. You are welcome to either or both anytime. And if easy, you are welcome to stay at my house as long as no press. Bannon, I'm in town Monday. Let's connect. Epstein, I suggest my house, 9 East, 71, similar to a skiff. You choose the time. Bannon, we'll come back to you. That's the way that exchange ends there with 9 messages. Just a skiff. Oh. Redacted from the New York FBI. Hi, I was just in my office and asked if you could please send to him an overview of the content of the videos your team is processing in order to provide the AG. Recognizing the videos hasn't been processed, the ask is to be able to categorize these videos and provide a summary. This is on May 25th, 2025. Summary preview. XX videos depicting footage from home. Number of videos depicting potential explicit content. Number of videos with insert general subject matter. He mentioned looking to provide to the AG as soon as possible. Again, recognizing the processing is not complete. Thank you. Then another FBI agent responds, good afternoon, and thank you for the email. The team continues to review the materials for the FBI. We can provide a very high-level summary of the content, not a table of the content I have included, and he will be able to contact agents who are actively reviewing the matter. We will provide a response at soonest, but it will not be inclusive as the review is still ongoing. Then he follows that up. Agent 2 says, additionally, is tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. acceptable for response? Agent 1, the DAG has specifically requested, and we meet him at 9 a.m. Could use something for me at 8:30 a.m. If it does not need to be complete, simply scope of the type of images and footage that the videos contain. Thanks. Number 2, cell redacted from redacted. This is extremely helpful and we appreciate it. We have received a request for more information. Would you be able to scope the material for the following? Oh, they forwarded this to somebody. Are the images of third parties besides Epstein, especially men? If there are depictions of third parties, please briefly describe them generally based on your review so far. Anything in particular interest, for example, public figures, if recognizable. A description of what is contained in the approximately 5.7 terabytes of data on those hard drives. We realize this is continuing heavy lift. If there's any way to get some general information by tomorrow, that would help us best. Sounds like in 2025, they're scrambling to get some type of email or some type of information to give to the AG. What is this? This is a weird one. What is this? Oh, it's FBI news briefing. I'm an idiot. I was like, why are all these things going on right here? All right, back to this.
Information facility. Later, he says that Ehud Barak is with me. You would have loved my tech meeting in the SCIF. This is an intelligence term, which is usually something you need the ability to receive classified information for, although it's not clear because later Epstein says that his house is similar to an SCIF. So the connection to the government is not exactly bulletproof. He
might just be saying I have like a skiff-like room, and then after they talk about it once, he calls it a skiff.
the false impression that it was. But it does raise a bunch of...
SCIFT is the area they go in without their cell phones. Everybody signs in. They use secure devices. It's sensitive, compartmentalized information facility.
Questions like Bradley Edwards, one of the victim's lawyers, actually speaks about this in his book. He said that this bodyguard had been sent by Epstein to Virginia to CIA headquarters. Nervously telling me the story, the bodyguard said, "I don't know why I was there, but he told me they would take care of me. I attended a class for a week. At the beginning of the class, everyone had to introduce themselves. There were 45 people. 44 were in the CIA or some other government unit with top secret clearance. I was the only private citizen." So clearly there's some indication, some testimony to the fact that Epstein may have had access to either classified briefings or he had some pool with the CIA. Now, we might know about this because there was actually a FOIA.
Because Trump pre-gamed them, no matter how much they claim to disagree with Trump. So it says, how is MAGA not disavowing all these creeps? Trump pre-gamed them, saying the Epstein thing was a hoax. No matter how much they said, it's not a hoax, Mr. President, we want justice, blah, blah, blah. And the Obamas of the world, manipulated it. That's playing in the back of their heads. They don't think it's real when it's about their team.
To the CIA about Jeffrey Epstein. Ironically, it was from Jeffrey Epstein. This is Jason Leopold saying the Epstein file.
If you've got evidence, I don't give a damn. If you put fucking Bill Clinton in front of a firing squad if he's guilty, I'll sleep like a goddamn baby. I'm not taking up for none of these motherfuckers. Get them.
FOIA request with the CIA in which he sought documents that would show that he had a, quote, open...
And with all the shit about Biden and kids and those creepy, cringy fucking videos and shit, it's wild he's not mentioned at all in the files.
Affiliation with the CIA between 1999 and 2011, and NSA for documents relating or referring to himself. Epstein did not receive any records. Instead, he got GLOMARS. That just refers to a term that basically they neither confirmed or denied it because they said that doing so would reveal, quote, a classified connection to the CIA, and thus the CIA cannot confirm or deny the existence of records.
Yes, so a GLOMAR is glomarization, is what it's short for, and it's where the government basically will refuse to confirm or deny any existence of requested records for national security, or privacy risk, or investigation, or whatever. It's a GLOMAR.
To your request. Therefore, you may consider this portion a denial of your request pursuant to FOIA exemptions. More specifically, they say, we search the CIA originated responsive records that might reflect an open or otherwise acknowledged agency affiliation. So these are also the important questions we need answers to, but it's hard to get them when everything is treated as a joke, when nobody takes this seriously. So yeah, all in all, this is a very frustrating story to cover, given how the people handling the whole story are engaging with it. They're laughing, they're joking, they're not responding, they're telling us to smile, and in general, they just want us to get over it. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's see. I think Levitt's the one that said, move on. We want that clip. I did get the post office clip I told you about. Doubles down on Trump's innocence and the Epstein claims. We're moving on.
On a completely separate topic, I was hoping you can clarify something that's come up over the last several days, again, regarding a separate topic, in Epstein files. According to newly released files, the president had a conversation with the Palm Beach police chief in the early 2000s, according to the police chief in 2019. The president has gone on record before, and he's told reporters that he said that that he had no idea about Jeffrey.
I don't think it makes him look better that he immediately called the police chief and this guy was arrested. It's like, yep, you got him. Yep, he's been fucking kids for years. And check out Ghislaine too. She's the worst one. Does that mean that he knew the whole time? Even when his own fucking workers were being abducted? Isn't that him admitting that he knew?
Epstein's crimes during this conversation with the police chief.
They also personally had this spat between them because they were both trying to buy the same piece of real estate at the time. And you can imagine Donald Trump holds a grudge.
However, he did say, according to this...
Good night, Grace Ritz. Good to see you.
You're stopping him. He also called Ghislaine Maxwell evil.
That wrench makes you look beautiful.
So my two questions are, did that conversation with the Palm Beach police chief happen? And can you explain the discrepancy?
What I will say is that the president has always remained consistent and that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. And unlike many other people who are named in these files, President Trump cut off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was honest and transparent about that for years and years. And so I think what the president has said all along has always remained true. And the release of more than 3 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous, disgusting crimes just shows the level of transparency that this president and administration has committed to and bringing.
I feel like they they think if they say transparency enough that people would just believe it.
These files to light.
But did he call the chief in 2006? Caroline, did he call the chief?
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that.
You led people to believe.
They're moving on from that. They're just moving on. All right, one more. This is the Howard Lutnick testimony.
That you had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the 2005 encounter you and your wife had in his apartment. But as I'm sure you know, the Epstein files show a very different record of interaction. Why did the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear that I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York. Right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall. 2 times. And that is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him. And then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total, and you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of...
But why did you come out so fucking strong saying the first time we met him, we labeled him a creep, we promised we'd never be around him, there was just something wrong about him, he's the most prolific fucking blackmailer in modern history.
There may be 10 emails connecting me with him, probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period. I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person, okay?
Secretary Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple.
The answer is yes.
They were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife.
But you understand now we don't trust you, right? Because you came out and said 3 years before this that he was the most disgusting person you'd ever met. A blackmailer, he was slimy. You and your wife both got the same vibes off of him. You left immediately without having any more interaction with him and promised that you'd never be around him again to each other.
All together, we were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything...
If you thought that about him in 2005 or whatever, why the fuck, after he's been charged with this shit in Florida, and after you had this interaction with him in 2005, why would you bring your kids around him?
Toured about that in 2012. I don't recall why we did it, but...
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said, there's not an indication that you yourself engaged in any wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. It's the fact that you believe that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements, suggesting that you cut off all contact when, in fact, you had not. When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate?
People get one fucking chance around my kids. I hold one of those Trump grudges. You do something out of pocket around one of my fucking kids, you'll never see me or my kids again. Done.
That visit.
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was staff who worked for Mr. Epstein on that island.
And you realize that, you know, this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, that's there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was, look, I looked through the millions of documents for my name just like everybody else. Yeah. And
no. I didn't have to search my name, bro. Bruv. I didn't have to search my name. I'm not in it. Okay?
What I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him on
I'm only going to admit to the stuff that's been released and not redacted. So the things I found that were unredacted was a meeting, lunch with families. I'm sticking to that story.
May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
All right. There's also a reference to the fact that Epstein had expressed an interest in meeting your nanny. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein ever met with your nanny?
No, I saw that. I had no idea what that was about. It had nothing to do with me,
No
as far as I know.
interaction at all with him on that?
No, as far as I know, no.
Would you, Mr. Secretary, be willing to ensure that the file is complete to share with this committee and the Congress your own records, any records you have that relate to Jeffrey Epstein?
I will surely talk about that. I hadn't thought about that. I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing.
I will surely talk about that.
You led people to believe that you...
I did later on type my last name thinking, I wonder if there's anybody, wealthy, but I would never I would never have a need to search my own name. There's no way I'm fucking in it. What are you talking about? All right, now we're getting off that again. Let's go to the post office conspiracy theory I was talking about earlier. So this guy just kind of sums it up from the whistleblowers that have come out.
Whistleblowers at the U.S. Postal Service are reporting that from the top down, they're being told to delay.
Uh-oh. Hippo character with a pink hat, flips it backward, and raises his thumb up in the air. Ka-chow. 99 for Jennifer Winkler. We were just talking about you earlier and how you sent a bunch of people over here from COG.
The mail. Work 8 hours, go home. No overtime. If you don't get your mail delivered that day, so be it. Just go home. And if you don't get it delivered tomorrow, that's fine too. We'll get it sometime this week, maybe next.
And the postage stamps are no longer valid, so they're going to delay these votes. There's going to be a bunch of votes that don't count this next election.
Week. And
if they don't make it worse and make it intentional in certain areas where they perform poorly, make it an intentional delay that bans a bunch of votes.
All of this is a huge change. The post office wants you to believe they're doing this to save money. They're cutting overtime, they're cutting budgets, they're cutting the number of employees, even as they're hiring more employees. Let me remind you of that. All is a lie. The truth of the matter is they're doing this because midterm primaries have already started in a number of states. And a number of those states have mail-in ballots for all sorts of people. Maybe it's normal in that state that everybody can vote by mail, but a lot of these states for sure have mail-in ballots for the elderly, the disabled, people in the military that are in a different state and legally allowed to vote in their home state. And the post office is taking part in voter suppression by slowing down the mail. Once again, they're saying they're doing it to save money, but the truth is that the Trump administration is attempting to suppress voters going into the midterms to help Republicans that are floundering keep the House and keep the Senate. And this is one of the ways they're doing it, suppressing the vote by delaying the mail. Whistleblowers at the U.S. Postal Service are...
Damn, but delivers less off. I've noticed, I feel like my mail, I don't get a whole lot of mail at the office. Everything goes to my P.O. box. But I've noticed, I don't think my mailman comes at all unless I have more than one piece of mail. Because, like, when he does come, I'll get, like, 10 fucking things. But most of the time, it's just empty. And then after 3 weeks, I get 10 fucking letters altogether. All dated differently, all postmarked differently, days. I don't know. I think that's what he does. They're going after the elections through the mail-in ballots. I would suggest, if at all possible, I mean, don't not vote. But if you can vote in person, go fucking vote in person. Fuck these people. Let your voice be heard. You never got my mail too. I kind of gave up. I just thought you were lying. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for the donations tonight. YouTube's actually doing better than it's ever done with you guys, your donations, the super chats, super stickers. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm going to hop off here, go get some rest. Had a long day today. Went to Home Depot, spent $8,500 of someone else's money. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye. Support the show while we're offline if you want to. That's how I pay the bills. I just paid rent. So that's at these links. Make sure you leave a message so I can thank you for your donation when we come back live again. But you can donate while I'm not streaming. I'll just thank you on the next stream.
You don't
have a good night.
Balls. You don't have balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go. I think I started some shit.
Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing.
Like a whale. It's kind of like a whale. Legend.
Piss him off, it's about to get lit.
I'm kind of like, I'm Jonah, actually. Who I'm kind of am.
We ain't seen nothing yet. And they say that lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6 cents for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord and to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like Thor in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an...
Good night, guys.